being in charge doesn't mean having to control. A lot of times
That's
being in
good.
charge is just setting up some bumpers, some rails, to
Yep.
keep people on the right road. So that's another kind of thing we've been working through, and it started with our kids, and obviously it carries over into to sport as well.
I love that. Being in charge is not being in control.
Welcome to the How Soccer Explains Leadership podcast, where we explore leadership principles through the lens of the beautiful game.
Welcome back to How Soccer Explains Leadership. Thanks again for being a part of the conversation. Paul and I are really excited to get back into this. Season 13, what the heck? But, it's the end of the summer, but it's the beginning of this new season of How Soccer Explains Leadership. So, Paul, my brother, my
Cool.
co-host, how are you doing? It's been a while.
It has, man. I've enjoyed kind of watching the recasts and remembering some amazing guests that we've had over these 12 seasons. It's always crazy. Every beginning of every season that we probably could put this on repeat. Like I'm just surprised at what season we're at, So,
Yeah.
but no, man, things are good. It's been a great summer, and I know we'll dive into some of that. But yeah, man, I'm ready to get pumping again.
Yeah. Let's get at it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, summer's just blink. It's the over. I look back. I mean, I was gone so much this summer. Really good trips, a lot of soccer, a lot of just family stuff, which was cool. I'm sure you had similar sports, family stuff, different things going on. But just give our guests, we're not going to go play by play. We're not going to go full, here's my journal of the summer, but
Yeah.
I'm sure the guests are wondering, like, what does it look like in the Jobson house in the summer of 2025?
Yeah. I mean, I think even before we dropped off maybe our last interview or so, we're always talking about what Warrior Weight Gives is doing. And we were setting up for a huge group going to Guatemala this summer. We had a group, our largest group ever. I think we had about 20, I think it was 26 people were going, and all excited, obviously. We felt like God had put together, obviously, again, a very unique group, and we're really excited. Marcy and Gray from my household were going, and man, the night before they were to leave, earthquakes hit
No way.
Guatemala, and really in the exact place where kind of we were going. Roads were shut down, some systems were shut down. The area gets tremors, so to speak, kind
Oh,
of a
yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
so it's not a huge deal. But these were in the high fives. So it was a little bit, some buildings had crumbled, some things had happened, so they had to shut down some systems. So we made the tough decision, along with our partners, not to go. So that was tough, and kind of diving into, what does that mean, and what's God trying to do, and but it was a really cool opportunity for us uh, to to be here locally with our folks. We had people fly in anyway to the local area and hung out. God did some amazing things here locally. We did some local ministry things, and saw God work even in Guatemala through some of our partners who just got to work and started serving down there. So anyway, it's I think the lesson in that is that we can be really, really planned out, but the reality is, even when we're planning out what we think God wants to do, God can always just do what He wants to
That's
do.
right.
And
That's
I think
right.
we could sit in peace in that and realize that God's got control. I said selfishly, I benefited because I wasn't going to Guatemala, but because it was canceled, I got to hang out with all those
Yeah.
people, and we had just an amazing time here serving locally and seeing God work. So that was kind of like that. We had some other things that we did, and we
Yeah.
went through some of that, but that was an unexpected thing, obviously. But we'll get our groups back down there again and whatnot. But just we would have been a burden. You take 26 Americans to Guatemala. All of a sudden, they're serving you because there's things that aren't working, and that's just not
Yep. Yep.
not what we
Yeah.
needed to do, right? So that was kind of our big Word Way Gives non-event, I guess, for the
I love
for
it.
the summer.
I love it. And I love how you weaved in, because I didn't even say at the beginning what we're wanting to do this episode is to share some of the lessons we learned about life and leadership, and how we can tie them into, if we get bonus points if we tie it into the beautiful game as well.
Absolutely.
But I love that lesson, just that open-handedness. And anybody who's done ministry for a minute knows that you got to have open-handed. Anybody who's done, projects of any kind, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
business, whether it's just, family for that matter, it's
Mm.
got to be an open-handed approach to it. Like, hey, we got our plans, but the Lord directs our steps, right? Like that is the reality of it. And I love that. It brought back my one time to Guatemala was for a conference, and the night I got there, I get off the plane, go to my hotel, or it wasn't even a hotel, it was a guest house. Fortunately, it was a guest house because they built it to earthquake specs of California, and there was the 8.2 earthquake off the coast of Mexico right when I got there. So I
Whoa.
get in, I'm getting my bags kind of set up. It was midnight, like, and all of a sudden, all these people start coming. I start seeing the chandelier shaking, going back and forth. I'm like, what in the world's going on right now? Everyone comes out freaking out because they're not from California, so they're like, "What is going on?" And it was crazy. But so apparently there's earthquakes all the time in Guatemala. Um, not really,
Yeah.
but there are a lot. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, my daughter was out in Hawaii at Kona with the tsunami warning recently with that
Oh yeah.
earthquake off the coast
Yeah.
of
We had some
Russia.
friends.
And she was
Nothing really
literally
happened.
at
Thank
the
goodness.
airport. Right. Nothing happened. They said it went up 3 inches, but I was saying 10 feet, and she was at the airport and they didn't cancel her flight. So she's like, I don't have a refundable ticket. I gotta wait. I think there's
Well,
a
that was the thing
time.
with us too. The flights to Guatemala weren't canceled either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the flight went ahead, and we had to,
Yeah.
credit to our travel agent, American Airlines, or they credited back majority
Oh, wow.
of our tickets, which was
That's
fantastic.
That is.
So again, another blessing that didn't have to happen, right? So,
That's right.
but yeah, so that was a unique thing for everybody to kind of go through. So
Absolutely.
that was great. So
Absolutely.
that was one of the big things that happened this summer. Another thing, I had a corporate sales job for a while this summer. I stepped away from that fully and
Okay.
have stepped into a director role with
Mm-hmm.
Atletico Dallas Youth Soccer.
Okay.
It's here in Central Texas. It's Atletico Dallas is going to be a new USL Pro team in Dallas in 2027, and they have a youth program. And I'm running the area here in Waco, so we
Nice.
it was going to be part time. We had about 90 kids, and this summer we added about just under 200 more. So
Wow.
it went from part time to full time pretty quickly, and so
Okay.
that's been a lot of fun. Honestly, I've been saying no to youth opportunities for 3 or 4 years now, and
Yeah.
God's timing is like, hey, there's some really cool stuff going on in Waco, uh, so we're now doing that, and so that's a big change. But the leadership lessons that are kind of going on with that is me being I have a lot of experience in a lot of things soccer, um, but this is a new world that I've kind of been on the outside of, and now being internally. Again, I think learning again that you just surround yourself with really good people, and that's what we've been doing to really move this thing forward for what our community needs from a soccer perspective. So that's a big thing that we had. And those are probably the two big things family
Yeah.
wise that we had going this summer that I'm sure we'll tap into as we go through the rest of the year. But those are the big things, man, on our end. Everything else is just did soccer. Sent Miller to He went to Barcelona for a week to visit his aunt and
Yeah.
uncle. Had some cool experiences there that if you follow me on social media, you can see he had an opportunity to be in the president's box at Barcelona and
Oh, wow.
did some pretty cool stuff. But anyway, I'm totally jealous of my son. I had nothing to do with setting that up, by the way, but
Of course you
he
didn't.
just fell into some cool stuff. So, but yeah, man, that's some of my stuff. What are some things that you guys were navigating this summer that you leaned into and learned through this summer?
Yeah, I think some of the same lessons. I mean, one is kind of tying it to soccer, the open-handed, right? My son got an injury, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, my daughter's looking at colleges, and my son is freshman. So my daughter's a senior, and my son's a freshman. And just that open-handed approach to life, right? Like my daughter actually has come to a really good place. She's like, I just have a piece that God's gonna take me where He wants me, and if I play soccer, great. If I don't, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I want to, go where I really feel God leading me to go, and so, don't know exactly where that is yet. I'm kind of pulling for Biola, but you never know what that's gonna look like. But I'm excited for her in that process, and just seeing her having that open handed, like, Lord, just show me and direct me. And I love that. I mean, what a blessing that is.
Yeah.
And my son, getting hurt, and, as a 14-year-old who is wired like me, it's like he's stir crazy and wanting to go and wanting to go and wanting to control it. And I know the injury because I had a chronic hip flexor injury my entire high school career because I never let it heal. And as a goalkeeper, you can get away with it a little bit easier, I guess, even though it hurt every time I punted. But he tried to rush back and got hurt, and so now he's having to have this forced open-handed. Okay, whenever you have me ready, Lord. And so that's been good to navigate with them because they're really good life lessons for them. And some lessons you have to learn on your own. Like you can you tell your kids all day long these different lessons, but they won't learn them unless they go through these things. And so to be able to see that and navigate that with them, my son as well, going through some stuff. And I'm just grateful that my kids are coming to us. I was talking to a friend and he's like, and I was saying, yeah, my kids are calling, they never leave, da 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 da, and I wasn't like complaining about it, but he said, all I heard was your kids are still calling you. That's all I heard in that entire thing. Your kids still talk with you. And that is something that you could take for granted really easily. But a lesson I learned in the midst of that was actually a friend of mine at my Bible study recently gave me this one piece of advice that I recommend parents follow at some point. But really, God's been teaching me this year, just really that to be still and know that He's God. Psalm 46:10, the Isaiah 26, which is you will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever because the Lord God is an everlasting rock. Like those verses have just been water to my soul, and just that idea: be still, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. Those are big struggles for me. All of those things. I don't be still well. I don't be quick to listen well. I don't be slow to speak well. I don't be slow to anger well. Like those are all things that are really hard for me. And so a friend of mine at church, he said to me, I challenge you this week. And I was like, ooh, okay, challenge. All right, let's go, And he says, I challenge you to not give your kids advice or share your opinion with your children, really with anybody else either. Says, but I just say with your children, keep it simple for an entire week, unless they ask you for it. And he's like, and this is a guy who's been through a divorce. He said, I went through my divorce because I didn't follow that advice. And my kids' relationships have improved a ton when I started doing this. And I was like, that's actually, and he says, now for your kids and the ages of your kids, he knows the ages of my kids. So I think there's this sense of you go from being teacher to coach to consultant as a parent. And most of my kids are in that consultant space. Now, I think my youngest probably is still in that coach space. But for the older kids especially, I followed that for about a day. And it was great. And then but I'm catching myself as I'm doing it. And I'm seeing that it doesn't go well when I offer advice unsolicited to the older kids. And because they're really not kids anymore, right? Like that's they're my kids. They'll always be my kids. Always see them as the little guys, in some sense, right? But they're not, right? So how can I come alongside them, help them make their decisions if they want my help, right? What does that look like? And so that has been a really, really important lesson for me, because I do like to fix things, especially people things. I like to make things better. I like to hone things. I like to help others flourish. But you can't help someone if they don't want to be helped.
Yeah.
And we know that as coaches. I say that all the time to my players. I can't want it for you. I can't do it for you. I can encourage you. I can be here for you. But even that, like, if they don't want my opinion, it's going to be useless.
Yeah.
If they come and say, hey, coach, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? All right, then it's going to be effective when it's their decision to want to change. So that's been a really big one, really good one. So anyway, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that. That's wise. I'm filtering through even my own kids. Obviously my oldest is a sophomore this year. He's 16. He's driving. He has some independence. He spent, a week 5,000 miles away with his aunt and uncle this summer and learned more independence, which has been fantastic. And he's matured very well into that, but he doesn't, I'm probably not the teacher to him anymore. Right.
Yeah.
But then I take that all the way down to the baby who's, 8. He still needs me to be a teacher.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I love that. I'm writing that down. I'm taking that out of this for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it applies to really every area. And it was something that I was like, And those were two different people that gave me those two different kind of rubrics. The one was the challenge. The other was the teacher, coach, consultant. And no surprise, both those guys are wired a lot like me. So we're very quick to offer our opinion, and our advice, even when people never ask for it. So that was really, really good. So do you have any other lesson that you want to share?
I think so. We just learned some things about our kids this summer. I think which is important that as parents, we're constantly, figuring our kids out, right? And navigating, what they like, not like. And we have, one of our kids is extremely highly energy. You can't sit him down. I mean, he's fantastic. He's so much fun to be around, but he's just go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
But we learned this summer that we could put him in a kayak, put him in the lake with a fishing pole, and he would sit there for 4 hours and fish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, it was crazy, and it's like, okay, that's cool, like just finding new interests and things about our kids. But I think, the lesson there is you're never done, right? Pursuing the heart of your child, right? Like, and figuring out like, what is it that they're wanting to do. And those things constantly change, right? I mean, the 16-year-old, he's, come back from a trip where he went to really, he was over there not for a soccer thing necessarily, but to learn more about tech and what it, because he's got into that. So, and not having a background in that or really much of an interest other than how to use my phone, trying to pursue that and figure out what that looks like. So really this summer with all 4 of our kids, really just trying to find opportunities to continuously dive into where they are, and not joystick coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Them through their lives. Like, no, we don't do that. You do this. But if they're not interested in that, then you're pushing them down maybe the path God doesn't want for them. So trying, again, being still, which is very hard for us. I think we learned also that, for our kids, I think this goes into coaching too. We all see the world a certain way, and we all want things to happen a certain way. And sometimes we do just have to sit back and say, okay, God, how do you want this to unfold? A great example, I got an email from a parent, because I'm now dealing with that, the other day. And he has some very strong opinions on how a coaching session should be done. This guy's not a professional coach. He's just a parent, and he has some very strong opinions on how things should be done. And I'm navigating the response on that, but I think the response is like, hey, every coach is different, right? And every coach is coaching a team of different people. So you can't cookie cut everything. And I think we need to bring that into our homes and into our coaching environment. Like, I see the world and the game a certain way. None of that is right or wrong. It just is. But I think God can teach us a lot if we can sit back at times and allow other people, the ones that you've put to be in charge, whether that's, your kids as they get older, or your coaches that you're working with, and the coaches with their players. Let them, the beautiful thing about this game is that it does lend itself for creativity if we allow it to. So anyway, a lot of crossover there, life lessons, soccer, but just things that I'm talking through and working through of like, not trying to like being in charge doesn't mean having to control. A lot of times being in charge is just setting up some bumpers, some rails, to keep people on the right road. So that's another kind of thing we've been working through, and it started with our kids, and obviously it carries over into to sport as well.
I love that. Being in charge is not being in control. A lot of people needed to hear that today, including myself, right? So I think that's so good. And I think all this stuff, right? Like, that's why it's lessons. Is it doesn't just, you don't just learn it and then the change happens, right? It's practice, and it's like anything else, right? That's the lessons we learn through sport, right? You don't just get better because you know that you have to have a good first touch. Right? You have to go out and practice it and practice it and practice it and practice it. And then when you're great, you have to keep practicing it and keep practicing it, or else you'll lose it. I learned that on a golf course the other day. I hadn't golfed in a very long time. And let's just say I ruined about 5 holes of the afternoon because I had a really bad attitude. And I was talking to my brother. I'm like, what? It was a birthday present from my wife to me and my brother and my kid, 2 kids. And she said, I want you guys to go out and play. And I said, what possessed Becca to think that this would be fun for me? And my brother, like, we're spending all this money to be frustrated, and my brother said, well, having fun is a choice. And I was like, shut up, you jerk. No, but he's absolutely right, right? Like whether I played well was not a choice. That was just like I had to do what I had to do because I hadn't played, and why did I expect to be good after not playing for 2 years? But you can still have fun. You're shanking all over the course, right? So I
Absolutely.
chose joy, and what I say to my kids all the time, choose joy, right? Like I
Mhm.
chose joy for the last probably 6, 7 holes, and it was great. It was awesome and so much fun. And we were laughing and goofing around. I got one par, which is all I
Oh,
really
there
wanted
we
to do
go.
for the day, so that was good. What set me off is I had another easy par putt and I missed it, and I was like, all I want is a par, and my brother was doing Happy Gilmore stuff that threw me off. So, anyway, all that to say, so good lessons there. So one of the other lessons I learned, and all these are kind of dovetailing with each other. I'm seeing, and it's not surprising, right? You usually
Yeah.
learn lessons in the midst of other lessons, right? So, but one is, I've had it's so crazy, the journey, and people who have been listening over the last few years have known the journey I've been having with ministry and just opportunities and what am I supposed to do and clarity and all these different things, and been doing a lot of different things. So the beginning of this year, I was like, I really need to focus on what God has for me to do. Like, so discern what that is and focus on it, right? It's kind of like you, right? The focus of knowing to try to do both of these things just isn't working. So I'm going to focus on the one thing, right? Again, I don't do that well. I usually have 10 stokes in the fire all times and trying to, juggle all the balls, whatever metaphor you want to use. And I've just been really feeling like, okay, I need to focus. What is that I'm supposed to focus on? So, of course, in the midst of that, there's 16, not 16, there's actually 4 like really good opportunities that literally people are pushing to me. I'm not searching, I'm not looking, I'm like trying to,
Mm.
you know, bring it back. And people are, oh, there's a CEO role. Oh, there's this consultant role. Oh, there's this, pastor role. Oh, there's this other role. What, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And I'm going, I don't think so. I don't think so. But then it keeps coming up, right? Like it keeps coming up and it keeps like from different angles. And so, but that idea of you can't do 10 things with excellence at the same time,
Mhm.
right? You need to focus. I don't care who you are or how you're wired. You need to be able to focus in the midst of great opportunities. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to everything else in
Yeah.
that moment. And so what does that look like? What does that look like for me? How do I know how to focus on those things in the midst of these great opportunities? What are the best opportunities, right? And how to make that decision. What does that look like? So that lesson has become crystal clear for me. And I'm getting close, I think. I'm like, I just need these doors to slam shut,
Mhm.
because I don't want to be, presuming that I know that opportunity is not what he's calling me to, right? And so to let them all play out while still focusing on what I know is in front of me now, because these other things are not ripe for decision, but they're still distracting. So don't let them become distractions in the midst of what I know is in front of me, right? So I
Yep.
know La Providencia is in front of me because we got that back in March. It's been going awesome. It's been going incredible. Our
Great.
director there is killing it. He is awesome. And I'm so proud of him and the work he's doing and incredible. Like he calls me there. He goes, oh, there was hurricane force winds. And our water pump went out, $4,500. We were able to cover it. We might need some money in the future, but we were able to cover it with
Wow.
our, and this is like, how do we have savings already? I have no idea. He's like, I'll
Right.
reach out to you if we need but we got it. And so I'm like, dude, you're killing it. Like, it'd be so easy for him to be like, so we need 4,500. Can you send it
Yep.
down? Nope. He's like, we got this. So, all that to say, I know that's the focus right now, but even see, I can't even focus on the story, right? So like for me to focus on one thing is really hard, but I know that if I don't do that, it's what I coach, right? It's like coaching people all the
Yes.
time. And to actually be the player that focuses and not just be a coach in that area has been something that God's been really teaching me. And I believe like all these opportunities are like, hey, I gotta know what's noise and what I'm supposed to do. So
Yeah.
that's something that's a really important lesson. And then I'll say just, the last thing I will say, the last lesson, and then I'll come back to you. You can have the last word on the whatever, if you have
Oh.
another lesson or just last word. And then I'll have another word after the last word probably. But anyway, is all of this, everything that we've talked about, everything in life Prayer needs to be the foundation of it all. And I know Beck and I have really been focusing more on prayer, praying together more. And I just so happens this morning I'm listening to a John Piper sermon, and like not even about it was I finished the one I was listening to, and another one came on while I didn't have my phone, and it was all about his Desiring God book. But anyway, what he said is he goes, all you need to know how your walk is getting closer to the Lord, how you are drawing closer to the Lord. All you need to look at is your prayer life. And it was so powerful. That is the indicator, because you'll want to spend more time with the Lord. And so that's something that, this episode has become more and more of like, hey, this is more of a sermon than it is the lessons from the field or lessons from our journey. But I think that's it though. Like, again, you can't be still. You can't be slow to speak that's not how you're wired, unless you're in prayer and community. And like the Lord is giving me that ability. And I can't focus the way I'm wired without that, being transformed, having my mind renewed regularly, being still and being able to focus in the midst of that. And with my kids being sick, being hurt, being whatever, anxious, anxiety, all these things that are like natural human things. The only way we won't do them is if we are transformed and our mind is renewed. So we can't do that on our own, right? Yep. We can't. We have zero. We can do different practices, but we can't make ourselves stop. Just stop being anxious, right? Like, someone with anxiety, someone with depression, just stop it, right? Like that's the old Newhart episode for the age myself and other people. But he's like, just stop it, stop it, stop it, and it's like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. But stilling yourself, stilling your mind, and to be able to say, I can't do it on my own. And that's been something that's been super important and powerful for me. Because, I'm 51 years old now, just turned 51 years old. What the heck? And I'm still learning these lessons, and I will continue to until I, go to be with Jesus. So anyway, what are your thoughts, man? Any last lessons, any things on that?
No, I love that. I think that's a great place to stop. I don't think that you really, that brings it kind of all together. If that's not in place, none of the other stuff is really making sense or working, because that's ultimately what we need to be doing. And it's a challenge, sometimes daily, right, to make sure that we're able to do that. So I think it's a great place to stick it. And whatever, I don't know why I just said stick it, but that's
I don't know why you said that either.
It.
Maybe golf. Maybe that was it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Put a flag in it right there. Yeah. So no, but I think that's great. I think this has been awesome, and I'm really looking forward to the season that we've got planned ahead here, in season 13. Crazy to think of, but it's awesome, and I really love what I continuously learn through our episodes and our guests that we have, and hope that our listeners, that our community here is learning the same and continues looking forward to what's next. So I appreciate all the work you're doing on that, Phil, and I'm glad you guys had a good summer, and I'm looking forward to what this fall is going to bring for everybody.
Yeah, so am I. I'm excited. Yeah, as for season 13, we're gonna have some great guests. We're still finalizing some of the interviews. We got some coaches, we got some players, we got some other folks that are going to be coming in that no doubt will you're going to learn a lot from, and no doubt Paul's going to have all kinds more lessons now that he's director of a club. We don't, we'll just have every other episode will just be Paul's lessons from the field, but. You like that double entendre on field?
That was good.
So anyway, is it cease to be a double entendre when you actually say it is a double entendre? I don't know, but
I don't know. You're speaking way above my intelligence right now, Phil.
Yeah.
So I'm just
anyway, whatever, folks. As always, we do hope that that you're learning from this. Paul and I love doing this, but we love doing it because we're very, very grateful you're listening, but we're also hopeful that you're learning. And you're continually learning and putting these things into practice and practicing them, like we talked about in this, over time. And it's gonna be continual practice that will help us to be better in all that we're doing. And so with that, we do hope that you're taking what you're learning from this and you're using it to be a better person in every way, a better player, a better parent, a better spouse, a better teacher, a better coach, a better leader, better in all that you do. and continually remind yourself that soccer does explain life and leadership. Thanks a lot. Have a great couple weeks.